happy January 10th to you all. Of course, by the time we edit this, it'll be at least a week. But it's January 10th. And we're in Metal Hoop Barn today. It's warm and muddy. So we're not working on any corn harvest today. Yeah, this year is really making me wonder why I do this. Not getting planting done. Hay was survivable, and we're still harvesting. At least today we're staying sort of dry-ish. Things about blew away last night. But right now we are working on the combine behind me. Really can't see what we have torn apart. And we have the hood off the 2810 here. Now we took this over to one of the fields to ear pick a little more corn. Given the muddy conditions and the fact it's leaning a little bit, we're done picking corn. But we've got a leak of antifreeze down here. I don't know how you guys can see this in the lighting, but the metal tube that goes into the bottom of the radiator there is loose. The soldering cracked or something. Probably got a misplaced corn stalk. Came up and knocked it or something. This variety of corn I planted is very sturdy stalked. The only reason why some of it's going down is because the corn was uprooted in a windstorm. It was that muddy. Stalks are straight. They're just leaning a little bit. So we're going to have that apart today. Pull the radiator, see if we can't resolder that. I already took the hood off. Next step, there's 4 bolts that hold this cowling on out front. One here, one down low. If we come back around, same thing. You got the one up high, comes off the front of the engine, and one down low here. That all pulls off, and then there's 2 bolts that hold the radiator on from the bottom, and it's way down there in the darkness that you can't see. So the hardest part of that whole project is going to be the soldering of the radiator. Taking bolts apart's no problem. Now over here at the combine, since we're going to have a big fix-it day, we've already got the shields off, which, they're all stacked here. You can imagine those were pretty well covering everything up. And I covered up the fan, went around, wrapped around the drive pulley for the transmission there. But the clutch was getting very weak in this thing. If you tried to go anywhere in second gear with a full load of corn in the bin up here, way up top, when you're full, you hear the clutch squeal. If you're trying to go down the road empty, sometimes in third gear it squeal, and it would definitely get you in fourth. So it's probably about that time. Being a variable speed, it gets a lot of clutch use since you gotta shove it in, stop, inch along, instead of just pulling your hydrostatic lever back. So what do we got? We got the belt off. To take the belt off for the variable speed, there's the adjustment rod here and the bolts that hold it on the side. Loosen these guys a little bit and then just work the threaded rod up to pull the pulleys up, takes the tension off. Belts are supposed to be 2 inches wide at their widest point. They both measure out to 2 inches. And we're getting some of the framing out of the way. This bolt here, looks like Dad's got it about out of the way. And then coming up, there was a little support arm in here, but we need to take this out of the way. I don't know how, that's not bolted though. We can't get that out of the way. Damn it, unless it's this thing down here. Dad wants to unbolt something, but I don't know if there's bolts to take it out. That might be welded in place. So we're getting there with this project. Never done it before. The 2810 over there at the radiator, we had to do some work to the front end of the 2910. It's just about the same. So that's our grease monkey projects we have going. We'll see how it's going. Might do the wheel bearings on the 2810 because those are loose, very loose. hopefully you guys can get an idea for the wiggle there. I don't think we've ever replaced it, and given its livelihood before we took on the tractor, I think it's just a good idea to replace them instead of trying to re-grease and tighten them up. Which, these have grease fittings, so I know they're well greased. They're just showing their wear. And my theory behind that is when you make a right-hand turn, because I made tons of right-hand turns mowing hay, the left front tire oversteers horrendously. And you can kind of see that in the wear pattern, how it's rounded off. And this rib is shorter than the other two. That tire has a lot of wear in general from making right-hand turns and oversteering. Not sure if that's the box being out of time. When you make a left-hand turn, the right tire here it tracks fine, doesn't seem to oversteer too bad. And it's just this tractor, the 28 or the 2910, doesn't seem to have the oversteering issue, but it drives me nuts. Like, I absolutely hate making a right-hand turn in this tractor because of the oversteering. I would much rather make a bunch of left-hand turns and jockey around than make a right-hand turn, because I've done it so much while mowing hay. That's all I do, is make right-hand turns. Which, going back to mowing hay and making right-hand turns, we've also worn down the right-hand brake for the rear tire. I've gotten, if you look, it's got an extra ½ inch of travel, because that's how much you make a right-hand turn, try to pivot around, and I've gotten pretty good at, stepping on the brake and not having to mow my corners out in hayfields. But with picking yesterday, it was a little greasy, and I was riding the left brake a lot since it wanted to spin. And if I hit the differential lock, both tires would be spinning equally, but I'd have more traction on one side than the other, and it would just turn me around. So I had to do it old school and ride the brakes. Well, after lunch, we'll get back with more adventures here, so check our progress with the radiator and the clutch. Unfortunately, I think the radiator is going to be a quicker project. So until more fun next time.